competed on the U23 national team, won a gold medal. He's one of the leaders, former Dartmouth pain train athlete when he was in college. Just a dynamic presence for Wildcard.
Dragon Thrust last year winning Club National 7-0 pool play here at the U.S. Open. They're the team to beat.
Well, they're the home team. They're on their turf here at the National Sports Center, and they've gotten better every year since this team was founded. Last year, they fell short in the U.S. Open and then got the job done in Frisco. A big reason why, if you watch any of the games last fall, was this guy, James Hron, a dynamo in the air. He's got throws as well, better throws than you might expect for a big guy, but he's at his best, and it's the most fun to watch him go deep.
All set here at the U.S. Open. Boston Wildcard, Minneapolis Dragon Thrust, the mixed semifinal, the opening poll coming up next. The 2014 U.S. Open Ultimate Championships are presented by the Discraft Ultrastar, official disc of USA Ultimate. Ask your retailer today for Discraft Ultrastar. The Triple Crown Tour, America's most competitive and prestigious series of ultimate tournaments. And by USA Ultimate, the national governing body for the sport of ultimate in the United States. To learn more about Ultimate or find out where to play in your area, visit usaultimate.org. Take a look at the starting lineup for Boston. We mentioned Ian Engler in the Open, Dennis Agnew and Anna Schutt, the handlers for Wildcard, Olsen, Petzinger, Hammer, and Reshev for head coach Michael McKenzie here this afternoon. Tallis Boyd leads it off for Minneapolis, then Martha Harris and Dave Klink, also handlers Sarah Meckstroth, Mike Clark, Pat Niles, and Patty King. We mentioned James Hron in the Open. We'll see plenty from him as well today for Dragon Thrust. A perfect 7-0, and it's a nice day. It's a little windy, though, for ultimate conditions. As you see the winds at 17 miles per hour, how much does that play into the difficulty of this game?
Well, it's a big factor, Wayne, and it's gotten incrementally more windy as the tournament has gone on. When play began on Thursday morning, it was crystal clear, it was perfect, and then on Thursday afternoon it got a little windier, Friday a little more so, and this morning the windiest day yet. It certainly impacted the final round of pool play, and it will be a factor in this game.
That's Dragon Thrust, ready for the opening pool. I like those jerseys, so sharp.
They are snazzy. That's Jay Drescher, one of their key defenders, getting this started today.
You see the wind and how it affects things as the disc lands even in front of the brick mark and almost at midfield as Wildcard begins their day with the disc, and already the observers stepping in as an infraction has been found on the field. In the sport of ultimate, they talk it out between the two sides, largely a self-officiated sport.
This is a good matchup right here. Reshev for Wildcard, guarded by James Hron, who's playing the deep point to get things started. He'll play mostly offense if everything goes according to plan for Jake Henderson.
Wildcard not really playing too many high-scoring matches in this tournament, especially today. A 10-9 win over Amp. That's the lowest score I've ever seen in an ultimate game.
Well, the wind is a huge factor. A pick was called here, so they'll restart. You know, one upwind score could be the difference. I expect this to be a very much downwind-dominated game.
Red zone opportunity for Wildcard. This is where the field really shortens up, but an opening there, and Wildcard on the board. The point goes to Eva Petzinger. And Wildcard able to strike first against the undefeated Dragon Thrust.
These two teams played their pool play round robin matchup a couple days ago. Final was 14-13. Now, Dragon Thrust was up 14-12. The hard cap went on, so it wasn't a universe point win for Dragon Thrust, but it goes to show you how close Wildcard has been with everybody. You know, the universe point win earlier today just to get here and surpass Amp. All three losses for Wildcard by 1 point. So you see the 1, you see the 4. I don't consider Minneapolis a gigantic favorite. Are they a little bit of a favorite? Yes, because they're at home and they're unbeaten. They're playing with a lot of confidence, but certainly this Wildcard team can get the job done.
Dragon Thrust has had some blowout victories in this tournament, but against Wildcard it wasn't so. A 14-13 win as Dragon Thrust blew through pool play. Beat the Chad Larson experience 15-9. They're a semifinalist. As you see the pool floating in the wind there And now Dragon Thrust with its first chance, handling the disc.
Not surprised at all that Jordan Hupp, number 40, made the first cut.
Going for the puck downfield, and it's out of the reach of Dragon Thrust's Patty King. She couldn't get to that long toss down the middle of the field. And the first turnover goes to Minneapolis, and for Boston now, a chance for a quick 2-0 lead.
And it won't be quick because this is an upwind point. If they could get it, it would be gigantic.
Wildcard gets into the hands of Cody McInnes, and there's the turnover right away. A high throw from McInnes intended for Stepanidis. And now Dragon Thrust with a short field to work with as it belongs to Dave Klink. Klink has 12 assists so far in this tournament. As he dumps it off, and now Dragon Thrust working the far side. That's Mekstrom. Burning it along the sideline. And an overthrow on a dump off. You don't see that very often, but the wind already wreaking havoc. And now Boston able to get it back.
Simple straight stack offense. If you're Dragon Thrust here defensively, you've got to disallow those underneaths. Encourage them to try to go deep, because in this wind, that is a 50-50 throw at best.
Another foul called as Dave Klink aggressive with the defense on Scott Gatto. Both teams seem to be trying to just take whatever they can get early on. Good diving attempt, some contact there. And able to make the play was for Wildcard was Petzinger. And now an overthrow that results in a turnover for Dragon Thrust. Looking for the Huck. And it connects to Jordan Hupp. Now a red zone chance for Dragon Thrust to try to get on the board. Hupp near the goal line, waiting for his teammates to catch up.
Jordan Hupp just skied Sarah Mekstrom, his own teammate.
Look at Tallis Boyd with the disc. Got the gloves on. Some people have gloves, some people don't. A throw from behind there by Patty King as it was knocked away by Gatto. Now he's slow to get up.
Gatto, one of the top handler defenders, landed hard on that right shoulder. Certainly concerning for Wildcard. Really walking slowly off the field, not moving that right arm.
As Gatto made the extension there, he fell right on that shoulder. Looks like as he clutches that right arm close to his body, he's going to need some help. So Scott Gatto, the first injury of the day here.
First injury of the semifinals, but it's far from the first injury of the day. On that 9-8 point, which basically was the quarterfinal game, as it turned out to be in the round robin against AMP. That 9-8 point alone, 3 different Wildcard players had to take injuries, so they almost lost half their line.
Wildcard trying to work it downfield as
pick call.
Ian Engler has to send it back because of a pick. Now Wildcard resets. You see the mixed teams, 4 men, 3 women on the field right now. They can change that if they want to.
The offense dictates it, and that's sailing out of bounds. One of the things that, both of these coaches have a lot of confidence in their female players, and they think one of the big advantages is going with the 4 females on the line, because, a lot of teams don't have the depth on the female side that these teams do.
We'll keep an eye on those strategies throughout the game. As Wildcard has the first point, but now it's been back and forth turnovers for a bit. 16 turnovers in the Wildcard win over AMP, resulting in a low-scoring 10-9 matchup.
Just in that 1 point, there were 16 turnovers.
That one gets away. That was 8-8 there for a long time. Now slow to get up off the field is Jordan Hupp for Dragon Thrust. He asks for a break.
Dropping like flies. Jay Drescher will come in and play defense.
Wildcard will set it up back at their own goal line here. Ian Engler. Sings it ahead, and now Boston able to run their offense. Vitello for Wildcard sends it into an abyss and able to track it down for Wildcard. A great play by Petzinger.
Petzinger's been very involved early in this game. Also a product of Dartmouth College. She grew up in Pittsburgh, one of the youngest members of this very young team. She's only 21. And that was Shelly Cohen who actually had that layout. Shelly Cohen, a North Carolina star. Finished in the top 5 in the Callahan on the women's side this past year.
On the sideline, they give it to Engler, and you're right, another stoppage here as they have the observers meeting near the brick mark. A look at Lee Farnsworth for Wildcard.
You two are up here.
Guys in orange, the men and women in the orange. Laura Meyer, Linda Kudo, Warren Wells, and Callum Lamb. The observers jump in when there's a discrepancy between the players. As I mentioned, self-officiated here to an extent.
The active calls they make, inbounds or out of bounds, in the end zone or out of the end zone, or whether the disc is up or down on a close call in that department. But everything else, actually just a missed clap catch from Vitello. Everything else, fouls, stall, travel, pick, all officiated by the players themselves.
You really saw the effect of the win there, Evan, when Vitello had that one bounce out of his hands. It blew away. He couldn't corral it after that. Now goal line chance for Dragon Thrust, trying to get on the board. They swing it out to the sideline, and it swings out of bounds as Sarah Megstroth there put a little too much action on that one.
Dragon Thrust is getting uncharacteristically frustrated right now. You can see it in Megstroth's eye. You know, obviously you can't sub in the middle of a point unless there's an injury. If you call a timeout, that doesn't mean you can sub. They're going to call a timeout to get some rest here, but you start to make more throwing mistakes when you get tired. It's just natural. You want to take the easier shot, and Megstroth just didn't take her time. A little bit too much float on that flick. It was a good idea. The lane was open for that scoring toss.
Looks like we're having a timeout here on the field as we've seen 5 turnovers on this point so far. And last night, as we are here at the U.S. Open, kind of misleading that it's U.S. Open. It's really an international event. Teams from the United Kingdom here, Colombia as well, and of course, plenty of American teams, the Canadian squads, as well as the opening ceremonies were here in Minnesota last night.
It was a great parade of teams in different nations at the Minnesota United soccer game. 3rd year of the U.S. Open. It was out in Colorado 2 years ago, last year in Raleigh. And really a cool event. It's early in the season. It's the first big-time showdown where the teams get to face the other top teams. And, you know, everybody has said, you know, we're tuning up for Worlds. We're trying to experiment and get ready for Nationals. But there's no doubt about it, the experience gleaned from this tournament, it's been a transformative experience for so many of these teams. And, you know, people talk about it's really tough to win a championship the first time you're in the semifinals. Well, Dragon Thrust has been a perennial semifinalist, went to the semis of the U.S. Open, and then took that next step in the fall. So these teams just trying to gain from this experience, and the prize money if you win is a nice benefit as well.
We'll see the defending men's champion Revolver from San Francisco later, and the defending women's champion Fury from San Francisco, although Montreal Odyssey, they didn't make the trip from Canada this year.
They did not. A World's year. A bunch of the guys from Montreal Odyssey playing with Mephisto on the men's side, getting ready to go to Worlds in Italy. There'll be a lot of talk about Worlds today, about a month away in Lecco. And that is everybody's focus, a chance to play international teams in a pretty cool place for a world title.
Lecco, Italy, and We'll see plenty of teams, including both of these teams, that will be representing the United States and their respective cities over in Italy. A chance out of bounds, near the out of bounds line for Angler. We've seen the wind play a lot of havoc already today in the last games of pool play, and already in this one. 5 turnovers on this particular point, as it's been 1-0 for quite a bit. Wildcard got on the board first. I said it might be a quick 2-0 lead. You said it would be anything but quick, and you're right, it hasn't been very quick as Boston tries to go up 2.
I'm starting to think we should just have a clock on the screen just to know how long the points lasted, because typically at this level, even on a windy day, the points don't last this long. This would be a huge break here for Wildcard, and they're on the brink. This is when you preach patience, and she got it.
A tumbling catch made, and it goes down as a point. Great effort by Catherine Sullivan. And there's the 2-0 advantage for Wildcard.
Catherine Sullivan and the Wildcard score. As Wildcard 2.
Just a battle of attrition here in the second point of this one. And great concentration. Little backward somersaults. Sullivan secured the disc, stopping rotation just before it hits the ground. It was close, but I think she got it.
Let's go, Dragon!
And the ramifications of that assist from Engler. Now up 2-0. They go down, win again, and the main offensive line for Dragon Thrust is exhausted. What kind of O-line will Dragon Thrust put out there? We're going to see Josh Hemish make his first appearance. Nearly tacoed the disc in the process. If the disc isn't flying as smoothly, you have that to blame.
Yeah, Catherine Sullivan falling on top of it. How many discs do they have available to use?
I'm sure they have plenty, but usually you can get through a whole game with just one. Usually the disc takes the biggest beating on some of the celebrations, whether it's a big punt spike or you throw a blade up in the air and it lands at full speed.
Sullivan's a Boston native. She went to Boston College. Beantown through and through as she gives Wildcard a 2-0 advantage.
Such a great ultimate town. And the men's and women's teams we'll see in the semifinals later. We won't see Boston Brute Squad. They'll be in the untelevised semi, but
we'll see Ironside. We might see Brute Squad tomorrow if
I
they
were a
make it to the
betting man,
final.
I would think we probably will see them tomorrow against the winner of Riot and Fury, the 2 perennial powers on the women's side. And then you mentioned Ironside against Revolver. That was the championship game of the US Open last year. It's a semifinal this year, and that's a fantastic near layout D, but saved right near the pylon by Klink. I beg your pardon,
Mike
Miles Peterson.
Yep. Peterson with a great play. Able to track that one down, or that would have been disastrous for Minneapolis, as Dragon Thrust could have been in a 3-0 hole. So Peterson able to chase it down and now backed up into the corner. The side force there, he's able to fling it out and into traffic. At the very least, he changed field position there.
Who's your favorite punter in the NFL?
All time, Todd Sauerbrunn.
Well, we could compare some of these throws to some of the great punts in NFL history.
Looking for the flick hook and out of the reach of the intended target in the end zone as Boston tried to grab that 3rd point quickly. The dive for effects there,
Bit of a
more than
gratuitous
anything
bid.
by Banerjee.
I got to follow up. Why Todd Sauerbrunn?
There's a bear, good tackler.
You love the punters that aren't afraid to get physical.
That's right. Another stoppage here as the observers call a pick.
Are we all set, gentlemen? Ladies?
Sarah Ancio has it. A rookie to this Dragon Thrust squad.
And only 4 rookies. They've really done a nice job maintaining roster continuity. Good patience, not letting that one fly. Didn't have a good matchup.
All these teams
Size.
hold tryouts. Is it possible for someone who was on the roster last year to not make the team and get knocked off?
It's possible. It happens. But typically, in a World's year, they give the players that won the championship and won the right to go to Worlds an opportunity. Now, you've seen some cases where somebody's been cut, but they're able to stay on the Worlds team, and then they get cut for the series. I've also heard of stories where a guy has gotten cut, was able to go to Worlds, and he played so well at Worlds, he earned his spot back on the team.
Now, there's the time limit to these games. Normally, it's the first to 15 that wins, or win by 2 if you do not get to that time limit. But there's also the case where you might not get to 15. In the case of Boston Wildcard's last game, the winning point ended up at 10.
Soft cap goes on after an hour and 25 minutes.
Looking for the end zone, an opening and a drop. As Allie Heath was there and she couldn't corral it. Could have been 3-0, but Heath going up with one hand, unable to make that catch.
She got turned around like a cyclone. Just misreaded it so slightly. I think she goes up with her left hand there. Might be an easier catch with the angle.
Dragon Thrust still trying to get on the board. They've had probably close to 10 possessions here and still no points. A pick called as Jake McCain looks for an opening.
Jake McCain, really the reason we're here right now. He's the guy that literally put in the bid for Minneapolis to host the US Open. So he's a great administrator in addition to being a pretty solid handler.
We'll thank Jake for all of his contributions to get us here.
And I must say, Raleigh last year was fun, but 96 degrees in North Carolina, July 4th weekend's only so much fun. It's been in the 70s and low 80s, much more comfortable conditions for the players and the spectators here in the Twin Cities.
Had some cloud coverage here yesterday, might have gotten even closer to 70.
It was away from the
Jamie Glader has it for Dragon Thrust. As close as they've been to getting on the board right here. Glader dumps it back. See what James Hron can do. Dragon Thrust trying to find positioning in front, and they turn it over. Hron with a drop right in front of the goal line. Dragon Thrust has been sloppy.
I think anybody who plays Ultimate would agree. Drops, unfortunately, are contagious. And Dragon Thrust has the case of the drops right now. The wind is, again, a factor in those drops. Some uncharacteristic mistakes.
Good call.
A lot of picks have been called early in this one as Reinhardt gets the pressure from Peterson.
Mike Peterson on the mark.
Peterson with the front pressure, and now Reinhardt lets it go on the huck, but to no one in particular, it's taken away by Sarah Ancio.
Well, that was Zoltan Mesko, just putting one in the coffin corner.
A scrum there, and it ends up being caught by McCain. That was a flip disc right into the middle of the pressure there, a jump.
Go ahead and check.
Looks like they're going to wave off the foul call. There was some contact
From everybody. There's 8 people there. A Hail Mary.
Except usually the Hail Mary isn't around midfield.
Another stoppage as another pick is called. Peterson get a set up for Dragon Thrust, the defending national champions. They didn't win the US Open last year, but they won Club Nationals, the October event, which will be in Frisco, Texas again this year. Dragon Thrust trying to get on the board, and there they are. Point number 1 for Minneapolis, and it's Sarah Ancio, the rookie.
Ancio's brought a lot to this team. Nice low release throw. No more for her defensive abilities. Comes from a basketball background. Calm offense near the goal line, taking care of business.
Ancio out of Iowa City, as she comes to Dragon Thrust as a newbie this year. Ancio with a basketball and track background. She went to Coe College initially before ending up at the University of Minnesota. There are a couple of people that are on the field here today, Evan, that have only been playing Ultimate a couple of years, if that. Ancio, one of them, as she gets her experience on a pretty big stage.
She's obviously a tremendous athlete. Starts to play Ultimate, no more for her defensive abilities, but gradually becoming a better thrower. This is a fantastic pull.
Is there one sport that leads to better Ultimate players than another? We see basketball players here, soccer players, even Emily Regan of Dragon Thrust. She's a former Nordic skier.
You know, it depends on who you ask. You know, I talked to someone recently who said that folks who play racket sports, either racquetball or tennis, make the best Ultimate players because of the cross training that's involved, and the you know, swinging the racket motion is very similar to throwing a frisbee. I think, you know, you can come from all different backgrounds: football, soccer, basketball, obviously track, cross country.
Foul call.
It's Pat Niles, rather that's Ian Engler for Boston. After a foul was called. Don't really keep track of the fouls, they just kind of reset. So we see another foul coming in here.
Speaking about different sports, some of the Minneapolis guys told me that Jay Drescher, aside from having a soccer background, also took ballet at one point. Now, I didn't confirm that with Jay, but his teammates were adamant that he did. So either they pulled a fast one on me, or well, he's quite the tightrope walker.
It's not unpopular for NFL players to have had ballet backgrounds. Willie Gault was famous for having done ballet as a kid, and turned out to be a great wide receiver in the NFL.
It is a guaranteed, like,
He wasn't the only
that's
one.
what the NBA is. I stood my position and you ran directly. You call this?
Reshiff
I'm calling a foul.
and Drescher.
So you guys can either send it back or come to us for a ruling.
I'm calling a foul.
An offensive foul here if it happens against
So if it's not a foul,
Reshiff.
the disc would stay here. If it is a foul because the disc was not yet in the air, it would just go back, last all +1.
So we're both calling a foul, so yeah, I'm
Okay,
submitting to you.
so my ruling is you did initiate contact with the defender. I'm upholding the foul. The disc was not in the air yet. It'll go back, yellow disc.
I think it's a really good call from the observers, and they shake hands afterward, no hard feelings. It looked to me like Reshiff extended the forearms just a little bit in the grappling for position, which Drescher had established.
Now Dennis Agnew will put it back in play for Boston Wildcard. Even though the foul was against Wildcard, they keep the disc. Why is that?
The disc wasn't in the air when it was thrown, so that they don't turn it over for a downfield cutter being called for the foul. And they each called the foul. Basically a reset.
Now Wildcard on the goal line. As Ian Engler looks for the point. Swings it back to Reshiff. Now Reshiff from the middle of the field. Back near the goal line again. Wildcard now with an opening after a falling defender, but Lloyd Olson didn't take advantage of that. You see the straight stack from Boston in the end zone. See who can make their cut. Now they'll set them back up again.
Foul call.
Lots of fouls and turnovers in this first half. A little ugly. First to 8 sends this game to halftime.
Hopefully we get there by an hour and 25 minutes.
I was going to say 8 might be the end of the game. See what the observers are out there to do, tracking time limits, and they're going to be involved with that, I'd imagine, in this game. They can kick players out too if they see fit. Now the straight stack. And the point for Boston, a juggling catch. As Wildcard gets back on the board, Ian Engler on the toss from Olsen.
An impressive 0 point here from Wildcard going upwind.
That's Wildcard 3, Dragon Thrust 1.
Some smooth red zone offense and just a pretty impressive low release flick break getting around the mark of Drescher.
Dragon Thrust 7-0. They've been challenged a couple of times in pool play. While Boston went 4-3, they lost to Dragon Thrust. A 14-13 matchup, probably the toughest matchup that Dragon Thrust has had was against this Wildcard team.
Yeah, Wildcard, an up-and-coming team. You know, they're playing some international competition for the first time, going to Worlds for the first time a month from now. You know, Mike McKenzie, who works in the Mass Attorney's General Office, has done a really good job coaching this team. A guy who, you know, previously coached Harvard, played Ultimate for a long time as well.
Wildcard was 15th in 2012. That was their first year. 4th at Nationals last year.
20 seconds. 20
now
seconds.
trying to get back there this year is Ian Engler as an assist and a goal. So far in this one, it's been a low offensive day for Wildcard, including a 10-9 win over AMP to advance to the semifinals. A 3-1 lead here, although it's been a plodding start to this one. As Dragon Thrust tries to get their offense in gear. How can they do that?
If there was a button you could push to stop the wind, I would push that button. Otherwise, it's just low, tight throws. The Wildcard's doing a great job defensively. They're using the wind to their advantage. They're really playing tight underneath, tight on the handlers, trying to force Dragon Thrust to make difficult around throws.
The defense there by Shelly Cohen, and now it's Boston back in charge. A 3-1 lead already, looking for the point on the sideline, and it's too far. So now Dragon Thrust will get it back. Sullivan already has a goal today. Couldn't quite reach this toss from Farnsworth.
And when you're down by 2 and you get the disc on the corner of your own end zone going upwind like this, it's a mental struggle because it seems so far away. You know, typically good throwers can launch it 75 yards. The entire length of the field is 70. But you can't throw it 75 yards into this wind. So you know it's going to be a struggle like
Knocked
that.
away. Good job by Cohen again. That one intended for Erica Becken and couldn't quite reach it.
Yellow over to pick up.
The Huck, we haven't seen many of those today. And it's too far, as you'd expect. That's why we haven't seen too many.
Well, you'll see him more downwind. The Wildcard seems very content to huck, hope, and then play defense on the goal line. Obviously the huck, the long throw.
In fair conditions, you could throw that disc all over the yard and usually find your target. In this wind, unable to, although we've seen a lot of that even. We've seen some easy chances slip through the fingers as Mextra out there couldn't make the grab. A pillow fight early on between two very good squads.
Dragon Thrust coach Jake Henderson said it before the game. When we play our game, we're really tough to beat. They're not playing their game right now. They're not taking care of the disc. They're not making great decisions, and Wildcard really could be up 5-1 or 6-1 if they just capitalized on these end zone opportunities. But you know, just because you're going downwind doesn't make the offense easy. You got to do different things when you're throwing the disc downwind. Otherwise, it's going to get smacked into the ground too.
Now Dragon Thrust. Mexstroth on the sideline, being pressured from the side, able to fling it ahead. As he inbounds, that's the question. They say he is. Great catch by Schoenrock. And now the point perhaps, but it's too far for Mexstroth. Explain the name, Evan. Drag and thrust.
It's a physics joke. The four forces that act on objects in flight: gravity, lift, drag, and thrust. So they're really a bunch of geeks, is really the origin of the team name. You know, a little bit too much drag and too much thrust on the disc in this win so far.
Been a rough start for Minneapolis on their home turf here at the National Sports Center in suburban Blaine. A little bit north of Minneapolis. As Wildcard moves the disc, Lee Farnsworth from the middle of the red zone. Leaves it off to Vitello. Vincenzo Vitello ahead and too far for Cohen. Vitello out of Tufts, as he is a former Spirit Award nominee. In fact, Wildcard as a team won the Spirit Award in 2013. We talk a lot in Ultimate about the spirit of the game, and apparently Boston Wildcard exemplifies that better than most.
Another timeout call here. You know, both these are pretty spirited teams. There's Jake Henderson in the white shirt. Ultimate traditionally relies on spirit of sportsmanship, which places the responsibility for fair play on the player. Highly competitive play is encouraged, but never at the expense of mutual respect among competitors. Basically, it's not eye for an eye. You know, if you've been wronged, you're not allowed to wrong somebody else. We're getting close to the 12th edition rulebook. I'm looking forward to seeing when that's going to come out. It's been 11th edition for a long time. Ready for the 12th edition. I want a new little mini rulebook.
Yeah, that one you've got is getting tattered. Drag and thrust during that timeout. They were taking a page out of the Team USA soccer chant. You hear a lot of chants in Ultimate too. At least these teams are very creative with the things that they have to say down on the field to encourage each other.
The 11th edition pocket rulebook that I have here has the Ultimate Players Association logo on the front.
Oh,
that's how old it is.
That's definitely got to go. Now Minneapolis.
The throwback.
It's in black and white too. Drag and thrust with Jamie Glader getting it ahead to Hran. The soft toss forward, and now Mexstroth near the goal line, waiting for Glader to catch up. Now waiting for some of the others as well. Looking to dump it back as Drag and thrust tries to pull within one. Austin Lean. Lean leading in assists, and that was a rocket right through the legs of McCain. Put a little touch on that one.
Lean, one of the co-founders of this team back in 2009. An excellent handler, but it went right through the legs of the intended target.
That was 92 in the dirt from Austin Lean.
And there's a time for 92 in the dirt, as you and I both know, but it wasn't right there.
Yep. Well, turnover picked off as Drag and thrust gets it right back. Now Mexstroth to slow down the offense. We talked about Hran in the open. He's been a non-factor here. Trying to work around Farnsworth. Hran on the sideline, up ahead. Now Drag and thrust for the goal line chance. Dump it back. They've been patient here, maybe too patient, trying to fight through this win.
Not great clearing downfield by Drag and thrust. They were clogging up a lot of that end zone area. And I think a foul was, no foul, just a bad throw.
Seems like the more throws you make here, the more chances you have to turn it over, and the lack of aggression by Dragon Thrust has been surprising as they continue to try to dump it back and they can't make any plays. Looking for the puck downfield and out of the reach of the intended targets once again. Wildcard has turned it over now 5 times on long throws. We mentioned Minneapolis not being aggressive, maybe Boston being too aggressive.
You'd think so, but Boston's basically refusing to give up the disc near its own goal line. Boston is forcing Dragon Thrust to go the full 70 yards into this win. And Boston's playing pretty tough defense, and this is what Boston was hoping for. A turnover by Dragon Thrust near the goal line. Did she get wrist or disc?
That is the question. Shelley Cohen
We'll start on 1.
will be called for the foul.
All set?
So
All set?
it stays with Dragon Thrust on their own end. First to 8 sends this game to halftime, although at this pace, you might hear the soft cap before we get to 8. Austin Lean with the stall count rising. You heard it go up to 8 before he was able to flip it away.
Well, we're only seeing the handlers, but downfield, basically every gold jersey is guarding the underneath, forcing Dragon Thrust to make some horizontal cuts, which are not the ideal type of cut at this part of the field.
I feel it in this win, Wildcard must think that defense is the way to go. Nice catch by Haran. Now the soft floating toss into traffic. Great effort. And a foul will be called here as Erica Bacon got very close. Actually, they might call the foul on her.
Foul might have been called on the throw.
Cohen and Bacon there as they collide. Another jump disc.
Okay, so my rule is that there was contact within his disc space. I'm going to uphold the foul call. It's going to be blue disc on 1.
So Show Rock will get another chance. Get out of his disc space. Sam Dinning. Show Rock able to connect with Austin Lean, a Minnesota native. You know anything about Minnesota sports, they all tend to be Minnesota natives regardless of what team you're calling. Into traffic and knocked away. A turnover. Now Wildcard has an open man downfield. Can they connect on the huck? No.
They rushed it. The thrower needed to take one more pivot, then come back across.
Vitello knocked it away and then sprinted upfield. The toss, though, from Lior and Corey Karlinski. Too far.
Good bid, though.
Now Haran has it. As Dragon Thrust moves it upfield. They go for a huck. Haven't seen many from them. And Mextroth has it for the point.
Tremendous throw from Jake McCain. From midfield. Great air underneath it, tight rotation, and Mextroth reads it well.
Not an easy grab there in the wind, and a disc that was knuckling a bit, but a great play by Mextroth.
A missed opportunity for Wildcard. I mean, numerous chances given away on the downwind offense.
Mextroth, a former member of Minnesota Star Power. She's out of the University of Minnesota. One of the younger players on the team at age 22. In fact, she is the youngest on the squad. Most players in their 20s, a few in their 30s, at least on the Dragon Thrust squad, although Wildcard doesn't have anyone older than 28 as Minneapolis wins 7-0 in group play. The win over Wildcard, 14-13, one of just 2 one-point victories they had in group play. Otherwise, they were dominant.
Spent so much time talking about the upwind, downwind. Here's the reality. The majority of the points so far have been scored upwind.
Let's go, Dragon!
On the pole, it's Mike Peterson. Those poles upwind have tended to go out of bounds.
If it lands in and rolls out untouched, the offense gets it at the front of the end zone where the disc went out of bounds. If the disc landed and then bounced off an offensive player and then went out the back, they'd have to play it from the very back of the end zone.
And if it went out of the end zone completely without falling in bounds, then what?
Then it goes to the brick mark if it never lands in bounds at all. Brick mark, 25 yards.
No, it's when it was called.
Oh, okay.
From the front of the end zone, center of the field.
How long ago was it?
So Reshiff debating that call with Jordan Hupp. Everybody very polite to one another in ultimate, usually. Well, I'm sure you've had some experiences in your days where that wasn't so.
I think everybody's had some experiences where they've gotten angry at an opponent. But, you know, typically the type of people that play ultimate are the type of people you want to be friends with.
Josh Hemish hits it in. The point goes to Jacob Blaine, and it's all tied up. Dragon Thrust has come back from a bumpy start to make it 3-3.
Jacob Blaine, one of the rookies, the younger brother of Austin. And number 12 ties it 3-3.
He's got the bandana on today on this warm day. Two assists for Hemish. As Lean, who went to college in Arizona, back in his home state, the land of 10,000 lakes.
There's Josh Hemish, just a really solid all-around cutter. You know, usually picks up his assists, not when he's the primary handler, but when he's made a play downfield and then he turns and looks. He's a good enough all-around player. And he's able to find targets deep. There's Lean.
First to 8 since this game to halftime. Although it's been a struggle for both sides just to get 3. Doesn't seem like the wind is going to be changing anytime soon. It's been a windy day throughout. And it's cooler than usual holiday weekend. See the disc just die in the wind as it lands on the wild card side.
Not a bad upwind pull there.
Down to her knees, the catch made by Stepanidis.
Stepanidis, a really strong all-around player. Just like Shelly Cohen, a product of UNC Chapel Hill women's program.
Staying here, coming in on 1. Are we good?
It's catch by Stepanidis.
How cool is it that we have the observers mic'd up?
It's great. Certainly helps us figure things out much faster that way. Wildcard tries to get the lead back with that hammer throw. Getting creative, Dennis Agneal. As Lean plays defense on him. Now Stepanidis looking to set up a score. Dumps it back. Now Ian Engler with positioning and nobody in front. Wildcard trying to stay patient. Angler gets rid of it. Gets it right back. Looking for the corner, and it's caught. Agneil with the point.
Going to be interesting to see whether this becomes sort of an on-serve, downwind game. That's what we expected from the beginning, but the majority of the first 6 were scored on the upwind. This is the typical offense that you expect to see. Cutting to the front corner of the end zone, swinging the disc back and forth, and a nice job by Wildcard this time of creating space with the downfield cutters. You know, we focus so much, Wayne, on who gets the goal and who gets the assist. The future of Ultimate, we're going to have a stat, crystal clears. The best clears to allow the next cutter to find the open space. Because Ultimate really, deep down, is a game about space and creating space for yourself, and probably more often creating space for your teammates to make moves on the field. And the difference in the mixed game is, you know, it's tougher to switch when you're creating space because you don't want to switch a female onto a male player. So you have to think about defense a little bit differently. You perhaps can't take as many chances because you don't necessarily have the bailout last back like you do when it's all men or all women.
Now the pull from Wildcard with the lead. Minneapolis will get a chance to work with the wind at their backs. I'm sure both teams would like to keep it this way. It's Pat Niles. Thrusts it ahead for Dragon Thrust. Now back. Up ahead and right on the goal line. It is not in. They need one more toss for the point. Some contact there from behind. As Seth Reinhardt
All set. Go ahead and check.
made some contact there.
Reinhardt played for Boston Ironside last year and made a bunch of plays here at the US Open on the men's side.
Dragon Thrust flips it in to Dave Klink. Maybe we will see the on-serve downwind game as these two teams start to pick it up on offense.
That first pivot, he didn't really have intention of throwing the backhand there. He would have taken the dump if he had it. But that first pivot created the space to get that short backhand up line. And interesting that he chose to throw the backhand, even though the flick would have been more on the outside. Being able to get that low, tight release. A little more control over the backhand there. He would have had to put more velocity on the flick. And with the target being so close, it would have been a tougher catch.
4 goals, 4 different players have scored them for Minneapolis. Now Dragon Thrust brings their defensive line out. Jay Drescher will hold this one for Dragon Thrust. And this 4-4 matchup, US Open mixed semifinal. Winner will play for the US Open Championship tomorrow. Dragon Thrust, after the streak through pool play, undefeated, would love a chance in their home state here to pull off the US Open win and make everyone think about them a little bit harder as they approach Club Nationals in October. They won the national championship last year. Quite a pull there by Drescher.
And it's going to get nullified because it was an offside call made by the observers. One of the few active calls they made.
Good job, Jay. Try again. First time we've seen the upwind pull go from goal line to goal line. Not much air on that one, but still a pretty good toss from Drescher on a low line drive, and now Wildcard goes back to work. They were up 3-1 at one point. Dragon Thrust has come back to tie it up at 4. That's a hard shot into traffic to Reshev. Low floater, and it gets through to Ian Engler. Now Engler with a chance along the sideline.
Dennis, reset. Dave hot.
Go ahead.
Straight stack up for Boston. Reshev breaks toward the goal line, but Engler didn't hit him. He sends it back to Agneil instead. We're gonna have another foul called by the observers.
It's a pick call downfield near the end zone. Again, this Reshev matchup, it's a bit of a powder keg.
Yeah, they've been all over each other today.
Go ahead.
Spirit of the game not exactly on their side right now. Side force. And a bobble, but was the catch made in bounds? They ruled that it was not.
Yeah, half of her body was on the line when she finally controlled the disc. That's a good call from the observers.
Great job by Kara Hammer to hang on to it, but Hammer, after that bobble, and she made it cleanly, she probably would have gotten the point.
Yep.
A knuckling disc that Drescher pulls down. Now Drescher on the huck, looking deep. Coming back to make the catch. Great job there for the moment, but a turnover. After the catch was made by Claire Oakley.
Well, she's out of bounds by the time she controls the disc. Certainly her knee landed inbounds first, but she couldn't catch it cleanly. And now at the other end, Oakley made that great catch and then got hand blocked looking for the dump.
Yeah, great play. Oakley thought she'd have the point, but she had to come back as the wind knocked the disc down.
Engler to pick up for Wildcard.
Now Engler starts off the possession for Wildcard. Nice give and go to Agneil.
Oh, Drescher and Reshev again.
Foul call.
Still gonna have to shake hands here at some point. They've been tripping each other's feet all game.
I don't think this is necessarily bad.
Coming in on one?
I don't think it's necessarily bad spirit.
Yes, in on one.
They're just
Everyone
really
set?
competing.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think that was intentional. Yeah, no, I really don't.
Okay.
They're just not trying not to give each other an inch. And there was a pick call, and that was a good call.
Keep an eye on Drescher and Reshev as they're up by the brick mark, up on the left side of the screen.
That's one of the great things about Ultimate. You can play really hard, and just because you foul somebody doesn't mean you're a bad-spirited player, as long as you acknowledge it.
Called another pick as Reshev and Drescher collided into two of their teammates. Lean and Agneil were tied up. You see Drescher and Rescher right there.
Unlike basketball, obviously, you can't set picks. So if you get run as a defender through other players, you call the pick and you're allowed to catch up.
No chance on the toss from Hammer. So Dragon Thrust gets it back. All tied up. I don't know if we'll make it to halftime in this game. The soft cap will come in here in about 20 minutes. First to 8 sends us to halftime, maybe.
Oh,
that was blocked on the huck attempt. Great play as Ian Engler got his hand up and knocked down the throw from Lean.
Tremendous anticipation by Engler as he cancels the deep shot. This is called a no-huck big flat mark. I'm not sure if someone made a strike call. That was just a fantastic anticipatory play by Engler. One of 5 gold medalists from the WIFTIF U23 U.S. national team from last year. Wildcard full of gold medalists. Shelley Cohen, Haley Alm, and Engler, Lee Farnsworth, and Adrian Banerjee. And we said it at the top point, this is a team of young players. You know, a lot of guys who have recently been all region in the college game. So they've certainly got a great talent base. They're still probably learning how to play together in the mixed division. I think he's in. And that's
They do
Engler
rule
again.
that a point. Ian Engler, as he tiptoed his way right on the goal line, able to keep himself in the end zone. So Wildcard gets the lead back.
Engler able to get that first point of contact in the end zone. If he caught it with 1 foot in and 1 foot out, it would not be a score.
Right on that orange line, and he's right behind it. Didn't even have a toe on the line. He was entirely behind it there.
And if he did have a toe on the line, that would not be a score, just to clarify.
Mentioned all the first team, all region players they had, including Cohen, who was the female player of the year in that region. Petzinger, Katie Meehan, Banerjee, Anna Schutt, Ian Engler, and Seth Reinhardt, all first team, all region players that have been adopted by Wildcard in just its 3rd season ever. They have immediately become a force in the ultimate world.
Well, last year, 2 teams from Boston made it to semifinals at Nationals. And we saw the rematch between Wildcard and the Ghosts. The first game of the round robin on Thursday morning. I think one of the reasons the Ghosts are called the Ghosts is because sometimes they have everybody and they're a juggernaut, and sometimes they're lacking in numbers. And this was one of those times, and it was the latter for the Ghosts. They struggled. Wildcard jumped out to a 9-1 lead and routed the Ghosts, their crosstown rivals from Boston.
You mentioned earlier, plenty of Boston representation here at the US Open. And pretty much all successful with Brute Squad in the women's semifinals. Wildcard here, and Ironside in the men's semifinals.
Well, you'll see a lot of Boston, you'll see a lot of San Francisco.
You'll see a lot of San Francisco. Revolver, Fury. We'll talk all about Revolver and their
20 seconds.
major star later on tonight as the semifinals continue. Good old Bo Kittredge back on center stage. On the pole with Boston leading 5-4 here. I didn't see the Chad Larson experience all the way from Ames. Not too many small market teams. Usually these teams are all from major metropolises, but not the Chad Larson experience, fighting through the cornfields of Ames to get here to the semifinals. Minneapolis trying to tie it up. Virtual home game for Dragon Thrust. Certainly with expense of traveling, they didn't have to. A freebie for them.
It's funny, it's a home game. You'd think everybody would be here.
Did he catch it? It's a point for Dragon Thrust. Thought maybe Mike Clark had trapped it against the ground there, but they rule it a catch for Clark on the run, making the one-handed shoestring grab.
Why not? Drop the hammer. Big time grab. He stopped rotation just in time. Pat Niles, in addition to being a player, Niles has coached the Minnesota women's team, the college level.
That was an excellent throw by Niles.
Yeah, nice float. Good finesse. And a timeout call. Jake Henderson, the coach of Dragon Thrust in the white jersey in the middle. He was a longtime player. He has had not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 ACL injuries.
Wow.
And basically the doctor said, look, if you ever want to hold your kids and walk around, stop playing Ultimate at the highest level. So he has taken over as the coach. And you mentioned it's nice that they're home. Everybody gets to come and watch. That's not the case, actually. Jake's wife, Kristen, is at home 25 minutes away. Why? Because they locked the keys in their car, and she couldn't get here.
Man, call locksmith. Were they never to drive the car again? What are they going to do?
I think he told me they have 2 cars. They gave one to some of the out-of-town volunteers to use last night. She left the jacket in the car. He left this morning, got picked up, and he took his keys with him. Her keys are in the jacket, which was left in the car last night. And she wanted to watch the coverage on ESPN3.
Well, there you go. At least she's getting that on this beautiful day here in Blaine, Minnesota. The Dragon Thrust and the Boston Wildcard back to even. Saw a lot of turnovers early on in this one. The wind has certainly created problems, but it seems like now as we get a little deeper into this game that they've factored in the wind, they've adjusted, and the offense is starting to look a little more crisp. First of 4 games on ESPN3 today. We'll have the women's semifinal coming up between Fury and Riot. We'll have both men's semifinals later tonight. Agneil starts off to Angler. Wildcard moves it quickly to midfield. Lloyd Olson up ahead. Now Petzinger. Brisk movements here from Boston as Petzinger trips.
The contact call, it's a live call. The point continues, and that's a tremendous layout D from Dragon Thrust, and that was Emily Regan.
Regan breaks for the end zone, although her teammates didn't quite catch up.
This is handler defense.
Great job by Regan. As I mentioned earlier, the former Nordic skier turned ultimate player. Knuckling disc, and now a chance for a point. Mexstroth won't be able to get it. It's out of bounds. Dragged her foot there, but she was well past the orange line at the back of the end zone.
She's in the soccer field, just not in the ultimate field.
Let's go, Mike.
The orange line, the ultimate field.
Yep, she thought maybe, but that's a different line for a different sport. Minnesota Sporting FC, they play their games here at the National Sports Center. An unforced error as Petzinger was unable to make that catch. Now Dragon Thrust looking for a lead, and they overthrow as well. Dragon Thrust has not had a lead in this game.
There's the reset for Angler.
Now Boston will reset back to their own goal line. Ian Angler will bring it up. Hemish playing the handler defense. Now Agneil. Side force from McCain, and another turnover. Now the lead could belong to Dragon Thrust for the first time.
Many more point blocks in this game than you'd expect. Hand blocks, foot blocks. The strike calls knocking Hucks down on the mark.
Hemish burning it in, it's still alive, and it's caught! Dragon Thrust leads for the first time.
Wow. How many hands does this go through? One. And basically 3 different Dragon Thrust players could have caught that. And it strings Brian Schoenrock who makes the play. Sarah Mexstroth nearly D'd up Schoenrock.
6 different players have scored for Dragon Thrust. It's Schoenrock after a deflection. The disc was not even intended to go into the end zone at first, but it got there, and so did Schoenrock to give Minneapolis its first lead of the game. Now Wildcard, the team that led 3-1 at one point.
It's 3-0. 6-2 run from Dragon Thrust here. Was it 3-0? No, it was 3-1. You're right. Sorry about that. It should have been 3-0, remember?
Could have been 6-0 the way the Dragon Thrust started.
It should have been 3-0 because Wildcard had so many chances to punch in the downwinder.
Now Wildcard will get it back, going upwind as they'll play it from the start of the goal line. Untouched and out of bounds. Ian Angler will bring it up on offense for Boston. What has changed for Dragon Thrust since they were down 3-1?
They've just gotten a little more precise, you know, with the disc. The upwind throws have looked a little more comfortable. You know, that one first deep shot that took the lid off the defense. Oh, Drescher's just throwing his body around. It's a sight to see.
A sliding grab there, although she didn't make the catch. Stepanidis ended up dropping it on the sidelines. So now Dragon Thrust will get it back with a chance to go up 2.
You know, some guys just have bodies that are made of rubber, and they can throw their bodies around. Stepanidis could not hang on as she made contact with the ground, but Jay Drescher is just one of those guys that, you know, regardless how he lands, he's popping right back up, ready to make the next cut at full speed. And here he is.
Stall on Drescher was right in front of him. Able to dump it back, and now a chance for Dragon Thrust. David Shirley. Now Drescher. So Gatto back in the game after he hurt his shoulder earlier, and Drescher got tied up. Actually, that's not Gatto, that's Cody McGinnis, who took Drescher to the ground.
I mean, we should start keeping the stat of how many times Jay Drescher hits the ground. That's at least 5 or 6 times already in the first 11 points.
Looked like a bit of a flop there. They do have the card system now, as Drescher goes up to the end zone, and it's caught. Dragon Thrust gets another point. David Shirley with the goal. That's the 7th different Dragon Thrust player to score. And Minneapolis up by 2.
Drescher might have traveled there, but if you put the throw on the money. Slides his left foot right as he releases, but it was not called. And Wildcard on the ropes right now.
Next Dragon Thrust point is supposed to send this game to halftime. Would the soft cap blow during halftime then?
Yeah, it could. This game started, you know, about 12:03, 12:04 local time.
Sometime around 1:30.
So we're about 15 minutes away from the soft cap. I'm going to make a bold prediction. This game's not going to get to 15.
No, I would say not. 10 might be a stretch.
Not exactly bold.
Dragon Thrust has put it together on offense. They've scored 6 of the last 8 points in this game. Not only leading for the first time, but able to go up by 2. An update on the other semifinal game. The Polar Bears are up 5-2 on the Chad Larson Experience.
Interesting.
The winner of that one will meet the winner of this one in the final tomorrow.
If it was Polar Bears Dragon Thrust, that would be a rematch of the championship game at Club Nationals last fall in Frisco.
For Dragon Thrust.
It's funny, in the mixed division, you know, it's usually easier to get good quicker because teams fluctuate. You know, some players decide to play mixed for a year just to take a break from the Open or the women's game. And you can get a real boost from just 3 or 4 studs that jump into the mixed division for a season. You know, there are only a small handful of mixed teams that are, you know, perennial powers.
Some contact there. We'll see if a call is made as Sullivan went down.
You can get up, girls.
Trying to sell it.
Foul, no contest.
I didn't get here by myself.
In on one,
No
foul.
contest.
So Regan admits to her wrongdoing, and now Sullivan will put it back in play for Wildcard.
It was an impressive layout from Regan. And some contact there, and Austin Lean declaring that he had position first.
Well, Agneil will likely contest that.
We get
Is he right? Does Austin Lean have a case?
Yeah, I think that's right.
So that you're taking back this call. Who called over here? You called a foul. You're taking it back, you said? Okay.
The foul
so there are
away
no
from
calls.
the foul.
Defense, just tap the disc, tap the ground. Disc is live, 20 seconds.
So they do turn it over. The foul is against Agneil.
Well, Agneil initially called the foul on Lean. Lean said that he had position, and that's, spirit of the game at work. Agneil was able to say, yeah, you did have position. Okay, I'm rescinding my call. How many times do you see an umpire or a referee blow the whistle or make a bad call and immediately regret it, but they don't really change their calls, and ultimately you see that a lot.
Emily Regan had a chance near the goal line, but it slips out of her fingers. And now Boston, after a much needed stoppage, able to get the disc back. They go for the huck. It's going all the way to the goal line. A chance for Petzinger. She's got it. The downwind huck works out for Wildcard. And it's Eva Petzinger who pulls it down.
One of the most important things for a young player to do, learn how to read the disc, especially on a windy day. Just a great job by Petzinger. She had plenty of time to size it up, and she's running right pretty quickly here. And she was lucky that the wind did not gust another couple times. Otherwise, she would have kept running cross over the sideline boundary.
2 goals for Petzinger today. Now Wildcard within 1, as the next Dragon Thrust point could send this game to halftime if they beat Boston to 8. Coming out of halftime, the soft cap will be on. Explain what that means again.
Well, halftime's at 8, and halftime lasts about 10 minutes. As we sit here right now, the soft cap is likely to go on at halftime. So if it's 8-6 at the half, you'll add 2 to the highest score, and then theoretically it'd be a game to 10. However, soft cap scheduled to go on 35 past the hour here. 20 minutes after the soft cap goes on, then the hard cap arrives. And when the hard cap arrives, you finish the point that you're playing, and unless the game is tied, the game is over. So if Dragon Thrust were to go up, say, 8-6 at the half, and the soft cap goes off, and then they go up, say, 9-6, Wildcard might not have enough time to get back into the game. That's what happened to them in the round robin. It was 14-12 when the hard cap went on. Wildcard scored a relatively meaningless goal, and the game was over 14-13.
So either way, we'll be looking at a very short second half after a very long first half between some struggling offenses, although they've picked it up, especially Dragon Thrust. Jordan Hupp. The burst ahead to Jamie Glader. Later around 2 defenders to make that throw. Now Mike Clark looking for a teammate. Swings it out. Sets up Dave Klink on the other end. Klink along the sideline. To Hupp. Now a red zone chance for Dragon Thrust. And a great play on the layout defense by Kara Hammer.
I was thinking that Dragon Thrust might want a timeout here, but Hammer, great full extension. That was actually Allie Heath.
On that last play, Stepanidis went down, and she's a little sore as she gets out. A timeout's been called here.
It's just an injury timeout to get Stepanidis off the field. She'll be replaced by McNamara.
So in comes McNamara, as Boston has a chance to tie. This game approaches halftime. Would they still take a halftime if the soft cap goes off before 8 points?
That's a really good question. I don't know if I've ever seen that before.
Because then they'd be wasting 10 of their final 20 minutes to play. Through the hands and unable to make the catch.
I think they would. It'd be good news for the team that's ahead.
Now Dragon Thrust again on halftime point. Patty King. Good movement by Minneapolis. Austin Lean looking for an opening. Dumps the backhand off to Clark, now to the end zone. Clark connects. And Dragon Thrust. Well, for a moment, it looked like they would have the halftime point. Now, maybe not.
Pick call. Did it impact the play?
The ruling on it. Well,
and the ruling is yes, it did impact the play, so the throw's coming back.
Jamie Glader, who would have had the goal had it stood up. Now Minneapolis will have to try again to send this game to a halftime that will create a very short second half. The soft cap will go off during halftime. At that point, it'll be first team to 10, potentially to win this game. Right back to Glader, there's the point.
No pick that time.
8-6, Dragon Thrust down 3-1 at one point. And Jamie Glader with the 8th point of the half for Minneapolis on the easy backhand from Mike Clark.
There were times here at the US Open when Dragon Thrust did struggle. They were not as dominant perhaps as the 7-0 record suggested, but they've been able to make some great comebacks in games, and this a 7-3 run to take it to half. A long first half, and Dragon Thrust in great position to advance into the US Open final.
7-0 in pool play. Minneapolis trying to make it an 8-0 run for the defending national champions with an 8-6 advantage over Wildcard here at halftime of this mixed semifinal. Again, the soft cap will go off, and at that point, it will be a first to 10 to win this game. So an 8-6 lead for Dragon Thrust, and then only 20 minutes after the soft cap is the hard cap, so Boston's going to have to make things happen quickly to try to get back into this game, as we are about to be joined by the Dragon Thrust head coach, Jake Henderson. And Coach, quite a start to this one, a real bumpy road playing through the wind, but now able to get your offense together and take the lead back. Take us through that first half.
Yeah, it was a rough start. Definitely don't think we were playing our best, but we took that timeout at 5-5, and we weren't playing our best. But I told them, hey, it's 5-5. They should be scared because we're not playing our best right now, and here's where we turn it on.
Jake,
pretty exciting.
Jake, we're so close to the soft cap here. How does that impact your halftime conversation?
You know, we're going to keep pushing. It doesn't matter what time's left. We're going to continue to push. I think we start on 0 with the win. So we're going to put on a tough defense no matter what. Not going to affect my line calling at all.
He knows he's in pretty good shape.
Absolutely. Coach, thanks a lot.
Hey, thanks.
Jake Henderson, the head coach of Dragon Thrust, an 8-6 lead as it's halftime here at the National Sports Center in Blaine, Minnesota. A mixed semifinal and a good start for Dragon Thrust. Back in Minnesota, Blaine's National Sports Center, the mixed semifinal. Minneapolis with an 8-6 lead over Boston as we take a look at how we got to this point in the first half. Really a pretty bumpy start for Dragon Thrust. They fell behind. It was all wild card early on as Ian Engler set up the offense for Boston.
And Engler was involved in pretty much everything for Wildcard, both distributing the disc and a nice catch made in the end zone after the bobble. That was the first to flick, now the backhand. And now Engler will get the foot in right near the goal line. And then this big deep shot, just airing it out. And it's a great read here. Tracking down the disc, Eva Petzinger, who had a big first half for Wildcard as well. You mentioned Boston's great start, but then Dragon Thrust sort of found its mojo. And it began with this Pat Niles hammer. You got to have some attitude to make that kind of gutsy throw on a day like this. Hemish's throw, not to the intended target, but why not? Schoenrock takes charge. And then Drescher to the end zone for David Shirley. And Dragon Thrust able to take half. This is going to become a game to 10. They're up 8-6, receiving the disc. They're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, they can make it a real short second half for sure as the soft cap will again go off during this halftime. You see the goals from all different players for Dragon Thrust. 2 goals apiece for Engler and Petzinger. Engler with 3 assists. He's certainly been the star for Boston Wildcard. But really the Wildcard has been the fact that Dragon Thrust has used almost everybody in their disc handling today and to get goals. An 8-6 lead for Minneapolis. Soft cap will go off in a couple of minutes. It'll be 1st and 10 coming out of the break in the second half and a chance to make it to the finals here in Minnesota. Back here at the National Sports Center in Blaine, Minnesota. Look at our bracket in the semifinals. Dragon Thrust and Wildcard in this matchup. The Polar Bears against the Chad Larson Experience in the other. In the final tomorrow at noon Eastern on ESPN 3. We bring in the head coach of Wildcard, Michael McKenzie, and the soft cap. You just heard the horn go off, so now it's a sprint to 10 here. How do you try to overcome this deficit?
You know, I think we need to take a better advantage of our chances on D. We've obviously had the disc a lot. So when we get it, we got to pump it in with the limited time we've had left.
Mike, you got off to a good start, but then Dragon Thrust got its momentum back. What was the conversation like at halftime?
You know, I think that it was the same thing. Take care of the disc when we have it on O, and on D, when we get it, we got to punish them for it. They've given us plenty of chances, and if we can convert those, you know, we'll be right back in it.
How important is the win down there? How much of a factor is it?
I say that having seen both these teams play a lot, and obviously my own, it's causing a lot of turnovers. It's making some of the easier throw and catch very difficult. So hopefully in the second half we'll be able to overcome those going upwind and get those breaks. Need 2 to win going upwind. So.
Michael McKenzie, the head coach of Boston Wildcard. Thanks a lot.
No problem, Evan.
8-6, Minneapolis has the lead over Boston. The soft cap has gone off. It's 1st and 10 in the second half when we come back. Second half starting here at the National Sports Center in Blaine, Minnesota. It's Dragon Thrust with an 8-6 lead over Boston. Minneapolis will receive the disc to start this second half. Wayne Randazzo with Evan Lepler. As Dragon Thrust 7-0 in pool play. Just a few points away from advancing to the championship of this U.S. Open, which will be tomorrow at noon Eastern here on ESPN 3. Dragon Thrust moving quickly already in the wild card territory after the opening pull. James Hron was quiet in the first half, but some space to work with here as he backhands it to Austin Lean. Now Lean on the hammer looking for the point, and Minneapolis can't get it. Although they should have gotten it, it was hanging up there for Schoenrock. He just couldn't bring it down.
Yeah, it was in his hands.
Both hands up and clanked off his fingertips down to the ground. So now Boston able to get it back. First possession of this second half as Ian Engler starts it off. It was the Engler show in the first half. Out of the 6 goals, he had something to do with 5 of them. 3 assists, 2 goals of his own, and an overthrow there. Intended for Lauren McNamara. Dragon Thrust tosses it deep. There's a little bit of an elbow from Allie Heath. That has got to be called as Heath, pretty blatant. She took down Schoenrock. You don't see too many females guarding males, but Allie Heath didn't mind the matchup. Look at this shove.
It's hard shoulder-to-shoulder play.
She doesn't agree that there was a foul. All the way from Portland, Oregon.
Okay, we're gonna start with the check. Defense, tap the ground, please. No foul. Live.
Looks like they will have no foul on that play, so Allie Heath gets away with it. It looked like about as blatant of a foul as I've seen, but the elbow was extended, and Allie Heath able to get away with it. Now Boston gets it back.
This might just be incidental contact. Their legs got tangled.
Let's see what happens.
Okay.
As
Foul, no contest.
Ekstrop did commit the foul. Allie Heath on the other end of getting knocked to the ground this time. She'll relace. Heath out of Elon University. Played for Bottlemetrics before she joined Wildcard. That one was tipped, and Ekstrop able to force the turnover.
And another hand block.
Austin Lean starts the possession for Minneapolis, and it's dropped by Mike Clark. So now Boston goes back to it. Ian Engler will pick it up and start it off. Flicks it ahead to Peter Schmidt. Wildcard looking for an opening. Vitello slowing it down, flicks it ahead to McNamara. The soft cap on. Boston needs points. They turn it over though. Cut off by Sarah Ekstrop as she breaks toward the end zone. Dragon Thrust won't take the chance yet. It's Klink. Now from the middle of the field, Austin Lean. The flick cross country going for Klink. And it's knocked up and out of bounds. Good job by the Boston defense holding this point.
It's a gutsy decision by Lean. Almost got enough outside and wrap around on that flick to get it there. But well defended. That disc was in the air for a while.
Wildcard goes back to work. Haven't seen Peter Schmidt in this game until this half. Nice sliding grab by Sullivan. The handle for Lauren McNamara. Sullivan's been active. She keeps it going forward to Schmidt. Along the sideline, red zone chance now for Boston. Getting closer to the goal line as Allie Heath has a chance to punch it in. Heath waiting for someone to break. Instead has to dump it off. Now Vitello shoots it on the sideline, incomplete. McNamara with a chance for the goal, and she couldn't hang on.
What a killer drop. Looking at the teammates in the gold jerseys and the sidelines, they all just put their hands to their head. They couldn't believe it.
A major drop in the end zone to make it a one-point game. But they do have a chance now again as Minneapolis turns it over. Ekstrop couldn't reach the high toss. A chance here for the point. And the catch made. As Wildcard gets another score, it's Catherine Sullivan. 8-7 Dragon Thrust.
Well, this is the biggest score of the game so far for Boston. Able to get this upwinder, a break to begin the second half upwind. And now it's officially a game to 10.
Just an FYI, Bobcat.
Now, Wildcard is pulling, but they will be going downwind.
Technically a part of this point. We'll play a game to 10.
Game will go to 10 because of the soft cap, although we're not that far away from the hard cap.
No, we're not, and that's another reason why that point was so huge. If they fell behind by 3, it would have been a really tough lead to deficit to overcome in just a minimal amount of time. You know, now let's say even if the hard cap goes on this point, if Boston scores, we would play another one to decide who goes to the finals.
About 9 minutes or so from the hard cap, and at that point, that is it. Playing to the next point, and it's the ball game at that point. So Minneapolis, a 1-goal lead. Wildcard able to strike when they needed to. The soft cap in effect. This game will end at no more than 10 goals. At this point, with the caps going into effect, you're behind. How much pressure do you start to feel?
I think both these teams feel pressure right now, especially Dragon Thrust. You're playing at home. After the slow start, you've really dominated the game.
Yeah, G!
Now Dragon Thrust can pull within a point of victory. First team to 10 will win. At least that's the way it's set right now. Well, as I mentioned, about 7 minutes or so from the hard cap. Could make this a game to 9 even. That is Gatto back in there for Boston. Almost knocked that one away. It's Glader looking for an opening. Wildcard going back to a defense that worked earlier. The pressure on their own end. It was Stepanitis who knocked it away. And now Boston can tie. Gatto on the side, pressure has it knocked away from him. Great defense by Jake McCain. Dragon Thrust works it forward. Drescher breaking for the end zone. Can Drescher track it down? He never saw it coming. Now he does, and he gets it knocked away from behind. Great defense. And Drescher wants a foul. Drescher never even saw the disc coming.
What a crazy sequence this was.
No way there's a foul there.
It's really close. He does go through his back. Now, if you're Drescher, you're entitled to the space directly above you. And if he goes up, and Adrian Banerjee prevents him from going up.
Okay. So my ruling is the Yale player made contact with the disc before contact with you. That's going to be overruling the foul. We're stopping and starting with a check.
With a great effort there on defense, no physical contact is allowed.
3, 2, 1. Disc is live. 20
And
seconds.
Banerjee, as the ruling was made there, hit the disc before he made contact with Drescher. Drescher clearly doesn't agree.
Here we go, Pearson!
Another chance to tie for Boston.
Oh, what
Nice
a
play.
Guess who?
Absolutely, Jay Drescher. Once again, getting in the middle of things. Now Drescher with the assist chance. He gets it to Emily Regan. And Minnesota's a point away from advancing to the final.
Drescher has been the ultimate warrior in this game. Just continues to give up the body. And he pops up so quickly. I've laid out like that before. It hurts. Sometimes you need to back off and handle and just not, go 100 miles an hour after every single layout. And in fact, every time he lays out, he gets more energy.
Big assist from Drescher. Emily Regan with the goal. Now Jake Henderson's team is Just one spot away from advancing to the final in this game to 10. Hard cap is approaching, which means Boston might not have any time to come back.
We're about 3 minutes away. And this is really interesting, Wayne, because you don't usually see time become a factor in terms of, well, now smartly Minnesota's going to take a timeout. This is going to hamper Boston's ability to come back.
9-7, Minneapolis with the lead. The sport of ultimate, not all that old. We go back to 1981 in the World Frisbee Championships from the Rose Bowl on ESPN. Look at this.
She plays on the
sport of ultimate wasn't very old at this point, only a couple of years.
This is
maybe the shorts were a little different.
Unbelievable footage out of the ESPN archives, and yeah, you won't see shorts like that too often anymore.
Some of those mustaches look like they belong in the Yankees bullpen at that time, but
Santa Barbara's got it.
You still see some wacky facial hair even in 2014.
Oh, easy catch by Michelle Pizzoli by Ultimate's Paul Brenner. He throws in the end zone, and it's, are they going to count it?
Man, look at that. Is that Bob Lee on the call?
Chico Mackey. Got to catch it on the fly, and he was ruled that he did.
Quite a venue for the 1981 World Frisbee Championships from the Rose Bowl in Pasadena.
That guy just had, his hair was a little shaggier than James Frann. Otherwise, they're just exactly the same.
And that sport doesn't look like it's too different between 1981 and 2014.
Well, it's amazing, how much more strategy is involved in with the proliferation of coaching and training. The athleticism that you see in 2014 is so much greater as more people have discovered the sport, transplants from other sport coming over. Wildcard here needs to score in about 90 seconds. Otherwise, we're going to get to the hard cap, and this will be the last point, and even if they do score, it'll be Dragon Thrust moving on. They know it.
They're going for it. Can Petzinger crack it down? Eva Petzinger, she's got it! A sliding grab, and Boston gets a much-needed hurried point. No time to celebrate, kids. Let's get back on the field.
That was the best throw of the entire afternoon so far. Petzinger read it. But this is Gatto. He knows that he needs to give it some stank. He gives it plenty of flow. And Petzinger reads it well. You just give your playmaker a chance. That's all you can do as a Hucker right there. And that's just huge. It changes the entire complexion of the game. Now the clock's not really a factor. The hard cap is likely going to go on before this pull. But Dragon Thrust a point away anyway. So if Dragon Thrust scores, they win. If Wildcard scores, the game's tied. You finish this point, there would be one more. So this is truly a game to 10 here. And, there's no time limit right now. The women's semifinal is supposed to start at 2:30, but remember what happened at 9-8? Boston Wildcard and Philly Amp earlier this morning. At 9-8, they played a 16 turnover point that lasted, I wish I had my stopwatch. It lasted a very long time.
So Minneapolis could win right here, or Boston could get it back and have a chance to tie. Either way, this game will end at 10 points. And the winner will advance to the final tomorrow afternoon. Drescher moves it ahead to start the possession for Minneapolis. Quick give and go. And a floater there to Ron. Almost a turnover as Austin Lean had to go down to get it. Dragon Thrust, Emily Regan. Looking for somebody to dump it off to, and finally she does. There was a pick probably called there.
Pick called down the field.
It's game point for Dragon Thrust, 7-0 in pool play.
The observers have been busy in this one.
Low scoring matchup. First team to 10 will get the win. Ordinarily, it's first to 15. Because of the time limit, it's knocked down the point total in this game. James Ron. Sings it ahead to Austin Lean. Now into Boston territory. Dragon Thrust looking for the point. They won't get it here. Lean had the disc knocked away. Ian Engler has been a major factor for Boston with the defensive stop, and now a chance to tie for Wildcard.
Engler didn't even do anything. He just had a good mark. Lean just had it flub out of his fingers.
Now Vitello's going to call for a travel, it looks like.
Watch this play by Austin Lean. No contact from Engler. Tough time to just drop it.
Look, he changed his mind to make that flip, but it was too late.
Injury,
he already let it go.
injury. With Dragon Thrust like a sub. Dragon Thrust. Dragon Thrust like a sub.
Injury timeout, so Boston makes a change. They give Minneapolis the opportunity to do so. Try to counter that change. They will make one as Jake McCain comes off the field. Wildcard with possession, right in the middle of the field. Chance to tie it up here at 9. Winner is the first to 10.
Dragon Thrust brought in Josh Hemish to play defense. He gets beaten underneath. Bad throw.
James Hron with the layout D. And now the observers will step in.
Play stopped. There was a pick called in the air to this player. Play stopped no matter what.
So a break for Wildcard as play was stopped because of a pick before the disc was knocked away by Ron.
That is a huge break for Wildcard.
Ian Engler swings it out. Into traffic, sliding catch by Sullivan. Boston looking for a point to tie this game. It's Farnsworth. Low throw, and it's too low. Intended for Allie Heath, who was standing near the corner. Now game point again for Dragon Thrust.
One of the things, Wayne, that we really haven't talked a lot about is all the other games in the U.S. Open have been played, I mean, less than a quarter of a mile from here, but at a wide open field space. You come to the stadium setting and things change. You know, the geometry of the stadium, the wind tunnels. And you might think, well, how big of a deal can it make? We've seen really strong throwers just fail to get comfortable in these conditions. I mean, that was a bad mistake on a backhand. Plenty of room just to the front cone, and he just turfed it.
It's not incredibly enclosed here, but there is a big building that does block some of the view, creates those wind tunnels. As we look at the bracket, Polar Bears and the Chad Larson Experience are hacking it out in the other semifinal. The two winners play for the championship tomorrow.
I expect that to be a really tight game, Polar Bears and CLX.
CLX out of Ames, Iowa. As Dragon Thrust has a chance to advance here. Their second game point opportunity. This game started off very slowly. Nice play there by Drescher. Now Drescher looks for the huck. Deep downfield for Mexstroth. She's got it. Right on the goal line. Let's see if Mexstroth can put it in. She dumps it back. They flick it forward. They've got it. Minneapolis advances. Emily Regan with the point. And Dragon Thrust moves on to the finals.
We've seen some timeout calls that stagnated an offense. But this time Drescher again lays out and then unleashes a huge backhand. Plenty of float, plenty of green grass ahead. Braun was there, tried the S-cut, no can do. Great patience from Mextrop. Hits the dump, and then perfect timing on the dump swing cut from Regan. Dragon Thrust the better team, but neither team was very good today, to be honest. Dragon Thrust much better than the way they showed today. But it's about surviving and advancing at this portion of the tournament. And the home team will play in the first final tomorrow.
8-0 now in the U.S. Open, the defending club national champions. And Dragon Thrust behind Jay Drescher, able to go play for the final on their home turf tomorrow. We'll take a timeout. A win for Minneapolis, 10-8 over Boston Wildcard. Dragon Thrust with a 10-8 victory over Wildcard as we meet with the head coach of the Minneapolis squad, Jake Henderson. And coach, able to pull it off there in the short second half. How'd you do it?
That was intense. I don't know, we just gritted it out. We had some long points, and we weren't necessarily playing perfect offense, but we're a gritty team, and we played great defense. I think that's what won it for us.
Coach, Jay Drescher just throwing his body around. Does he ever ask for a sub after he lays out like that?
Yeah, he's actually batting a little bit of a knee injury, but he looked all right to me.
Now a chance tomorrow to win the U.S. Open. I know your sights are set certainly on Worlds and Club Nationals, but how important is it to you to win this event?
Oh, this is awesome. This is all we're thinking about right now. We got a long time till those other things happen. This is all we're thinking about, and right in front of our home crowd, which would be pretty cool.
All right, Coach, thanks a lot. Good luck tomorrow.
Hey, thank you.
Jake Henderson, the head coach of Dragon Thrust, there in the finals, and this is how they got there, our Discraft Ultra Star play of the game.
This came out of the timeout. Drescher lays out, keeps the disc alive, and then lets it fly. Not sure how Mextrop got that wide open, and she just displayed great patience near the goal line here. You got 10 seconds to work with. Don't rush. Frees up Emily Regan off the dump.
Emily Regan with the game-winning goal, but it was this guy who started it all off, Jay Drescher, knocking people over 100 miles an hour out there. I mean, that was a great game for you and certainly your team, but talk about your effort and what you were doing out there to try to get open.
Yeah, on defense, I'm just trying to stick hard and play really close. There's a borderline of, in a mixed game, of just, how much physical contact can be there, and, I flirt the line with that. But on offense, I mean, we're just trying to take advantage and, see those open cuts, always looking for that space for your next cutter. So, yeah, that's what we're trying to set up.
Jay, who taught you to lay out? When did you learn to lay out? Because it seems like that's what you want to do on every single point you're on the field.
Yeah, that is my jam. I love laying out. I would have to credit my mom and my dad. I don't know. I got a little bit from soccer, but, I mean, once I got a taste in college, I just couldn't quit.
How did your mom and dad teach you how to lay out?
I mean, my mom she's an athlete. My dad taught me my backhand, so I got to give him credit for that. But my mom just kind of like coached me a little bit on some sports stuff as a kid, and that's where I got my athleticism. Got to thank their genes.
Some of your teammates said you took ballet. Is that true?
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah, I did for a couple. It actually helps a lot, so I'd really recommend it. It helps your balance and form and everything else. Plus, you look pretty.
A chance to dance tomorrow in the championship. Good luck, Jay.
Thanks.
Jay Drescher, Dragon Thrust there in the finals tomorrow with their 10-8 win over Boston Wildcard. The Polar Bears and the Chad Larson Experience dueling in the other semifinal as we speak to try to figure out who will play tomorrow at noon Eastern on ESPN 3 against Minneapolis Dragon Thrust right here in their home area. Dragon Thrust trying to win this one tomorrow. For Evan Lepler, I'm Wayne Randazzo saying so long from the National Sports Center in Blaine, Minnesota. And the final score, Dragon Thrust beating Wildcard 10-8. To watch this entire game on replay, log on to watchespn.com or download the Watch ESPN app. Thank you for watching. This has been a presentation of ESPN.